Hey guys, I'm Heather. Welcome to my channel. And if you can't tell by the title, I got a BFP. So I am 4 weeks pregnant. It's always exciting when you look back at the tests and they still look positive. Man, I don't know where to start. But let me just tell you about myself. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe below, press the little bell so you can get updates of when I post my next video. My husband and I are so blessed to have our son. He is about to be 15 months old, and we are now blessed to be pregnant again. This is our third pregnancy. It's going to be our second baby. We recently had a miscarriage a couple months ago, and we decided that we wanted to wait one cycle and then try again to conceive. And we are so blessed to sit here now and tell you that we are pregnant. So I did my weekly updates with my first pregnancy, and I'll have it linked down below if you want to check that out. This is going to be my third pregnancy, so it's a little bit different for me. I'm a little nervous. I mean, everybody, even though it's your first or second or third, whatever, I think that the first trimester just sucks all around. Like, there's no other way to say it. First trimester sucks. You're just scared the whole time. You're worried, and just stay positive. Have things to believe in. Your faith comes into play when you're pregnant, like totally. I have my St. Gerard necklace that I'm wearing again for this pregnancy. I wore it for each of my pregnancies, and that's where I just put all of my worries and all of my energy to that some greater being is going to make sure that everything goes smoothly for this pregnancy. So my husband and I did the ovulation test strips, the OPKs, and I feel like that really helped me because I found out that I ovulated on day 21 rather than day 14. So I'm prepared that when I have all my tests and studies done, that the baby's gonna probably measure a week smaller than it should, and that's because I ovulated late. If you don't know when you ovulated and all of that, don't even worry about it. Just get to your viability scan and take it from there. So according to last menstrual period, I am 5 weeks, but according to ovulation, I am in my 4th week. So I'm gonna go along with my ovulation and tell you my symptoms for that time period. Firstly, I wanna show you my positive test strips. I have everything on this little piece of paper. So we use the PREGMATE LH and HCG test strips. This came with a box of 50 LH and 20 HCG, and I used all of the HCG test strips. So this is my pregnancy number 3. So my last menstrual period was supposed to start on 9/23, and then the predicted menstrual start was going to be 10/22. So as you can see, I was testing in the morning because your urine is the strongest then. And then over here are my days past ovulation. So I started to get a super faint line around day 9 DPO, which is days past ovulation. And then it progressively got darker, which is my, I cannot not test a million times in a row because I want to see that line get darker. And as you can see, I even took a random test at day 24 past ovulation down here, and just to make sure that it was super dark, and it was. Because randomly throughout this whole wait period, you have to call your doctor when you're 4 weeks, and then they won't see you to get your blood work, and that's just blood work to make sure that your HCG levels and your progesterone levels are elevated enough to provide a good environment for a pregnancy until about 6 or 7 weeks. For us, we got our first positive on the day that I was supposed to get my menstrual cycle, and that was 9 days past ovulation. So I did, on 9 days past ovulation, have a little bit of brown blood, and it was a really little bit. It was more than my first pregnancy, but not as much as when I was having all the bleeding when I was miscarrying. And I did do a video on that if for any reason you have to watch that. But enough about positive pregnancy test strips, because we all know what they look like. My symptoms for week 4 of my second pregnancy. How am I feeling physically? I feel anxiety or nausea. I can't really tell what it is. I think it's more of anxiety because it's just the unknown. Like, oh my God, are we pregnant for real again? Like, how's this gonna go? just anxiety. Symptoms that I'm feeling, I did feel like an occasionally heavy, full feeling in my pelvic area. And I think that's just maybe the blood lining plumping up. It's just like a different feeling. Rather than everything shedding, it's continuing to grow. So I think that's where that heavy, like foolish feeling comes from. Super tired, just right away. Once that egg implants, it's like tiredness sets in, lethargic. That's how I knew. I was like, okay, this is for real. I got some pimples on the side of my face, which happened with my other pregnancies also. The difference in the hormone changes and everything, I think, just pops them out. I did notice an increase in thirst, and definitely along with that comes increased urination, which are pregnancy symptoms. One other thing that I noticed early in my other pregnancies too was that I'm just very clumsy, just knocking things over, dropping things, my pen, knocking cups over, like clumsiness. And then you know that salivating feeling in the back corners of your mouth? I had that feeling too. I know that they say that you can have like increased saliva. I don't know if that's usually this early, but that's just something that I noticed that I wrote down. Oddly, even though it was so early on, I did have cravings. Cravings for specifically pickles, pickle juice, and onions. Like raw, white Spanish onions. I have no idea why, but I wanted to put onions on everything. Like I put so much on that I was basically eating onion. Like cut a sliver, put it on a sandwich. Gross. How my body has changed. I am just feeling really bloated and heavier. Like I think that just goes along with like that bloated feeling that you feel like you're retaining water maybe. How I'm feeling emotionally. Emotionally, I just kind of feel like blah. Kind of the best word that I can find to describe it would be like indifferent. Like I want to be excited because I did have a miss right before this pregnancy, but it's hard. It's hard for me to get excited. It's just so early on, and hoping that that feeling gets better as we progress through. But then in another way, I do feel excited, like I want to just tell everybody. And I don't know why, but I have not announced this on my social media yet. So this will probably be posted a little bit late, but I want this to be available for people that are 4 weeks pregnant in the months and weeks and years to come that want to refer to this video. So I'm not being actively open about this right now, and I really want to, but I feel like, for my husband and I, like we have to both be on the same page, and we want to just kind of see where this goes first. Things we did this week were just testing, and I tested with my husband. If I have a video of that, I'll insert it here. What's comforting to me? The only comforting thing to me right now is taking those tests and seeing the line progress. Thoughts and feelings that I had for week 4, since this was after my miss, was the fact that I just felt like I didn't even want to go to the doctor. Like I knew I needed blood work, but when I called to make that appointment, I felt like I just didn't even want to interact with the doctor. I just wanted to go, have them draw my blood, and see what the results were later. And that's just me being stubborn, I think, because it's just early on being in denial and all of that. But I did call and I made my first appointment, and it's going to be a little bit later than it was for this past miscarriage, because I just wanted things to progress a little more before I went and ran and got tests. Things I'm looking forward to, definitely getting that first ultrasound. Like I want to get that ultrasound and I want to know that things are good. I want to know that the fluid around the baby looks normal. I want to know that the baby is measuring. If it's measuring a week smaller, I know why, and I was explaining that to you before because I ovulated late. But I want to make sure that there's no bleeds. With my miscarriage, I had bleeds around the baby. So they were called subchorionic hemorrhages, and you can see them on the ultrasound. And sometimes you can have them and your pregnancy can progress like a normal pregnancy and they just watch them. But to see that, I feel like will give me some comfort and knowing that, okay, this looks better than the last time. Things that I'm scared or nervous about, I just hope everything sticks this time. It's just a whirlwind of time and emotion and like energy that's put into the thought of having another child, and then, the thought of losing it again. So I'm just nervous, for that fact, but so grateful and so excited and so happy to get this positive pregnancy test and share with you guys my journey from week 4 on onward. Another thing is I just am crossing my fingers. I really hope that I have no bleeding. I know that they say bleeding in the first trimester is very normal. So if you have bleeding, don't freak out. Talk to your doctor about it. Brown blood is normal, bright red blood, and a lot of it may not be. So definitely check with them if you're experiencing something like that. How has my husband been? My husband's just nervous. I think he was excited and a little bit in denial, like, oh my gosh, how did we get pregnant right away again? For the 3rd time. Like, oh my gosh, we got this. In the past, when we were trying to conceive for our first, he was really nervous about some medical issues about, his sperm and like the mobility and the volume and all of that. So he had some testing done and some medical issues that he has had in the past. And we were nervous about that. I don't know of anything that I have wrong, like I don't have PCOS or endometriosis or anything like that I know of, and I've never had any issues. So I don't know. We just worry ourselves like crazy, and it's just like you just gotta jump in and do it and see what happens, and don't worry until you can't conceive. But my husband, since we found out super early, we wanted to like include this, and this was 2 days that we had to think of this, to get a onesie made for my son, because for Halloween I was the queen bee, my husband was the beekeeper, and my son was the little bee. And I'll insert a picture here. And we wanted to make a onesie that said Big Brother to Bee, like BEE. And he had somebody at work make the onesie for us so that we could make this happen within the 2 days that we found out, and we wanted to let our family know early, because with the miscarriage, we didn't let our family know, and it was the worst thing that we could have done. Like, your family is there for you for everything. I mean, for us, people have different relationships with their family, but for us, we were like, you know what, when we get pregnant again, we are going to let everybody know right off the bat, right when we get our first positive, and let them be involved for the whole process, because keeping it and not letting them know until about 9 weeks when we were actually miscarrying was very hard to do, to say, hey, guess what, we're pregnant and we're miscarrying. It was just a total up and a total down. So I feel comfortable sharing the news with family as soon as possible. Anyway, back to the onesie story. My husband had a mini panic attack, because as he was asking for this onesie, he had to say, my wife's pregnant, it's super early, and saying it out loud gave him like this rush of anxiety, I guess. And like he said he got clammy and sweaty and felt lightheaded and had to sit down. And then he took a walk, ate something, and then we were talking about it later at home, and I think that it was because it was being said out loud. He hadn't done that yet. I'm gonna refer back to some of my first pregnancy notes, just little things that I want to throw in for you here and there, so you don't have to go back and watch both videos if you don't feel like it. But as of right now, for week 4, the baby is the size of a poppy seed. And referring to the What to Expect When You're Expecting app, here's just a few things that are happening right now. So implantation has occurred, development of the amniotic sac, HCG production has started, which gives you your positive pregnancy test, and all the building blocks for the baby's vital organs are in place by the end of week 4. Other things that I touched on in my first pregnancy update for 4 weeks was the things that I started to avoid. So I started to avoid everything that you should, like alcohol, smoking. I don't smoke, but raw fish, like sushi and all of that. Was taking my prenatals even before we started to get pregnant, and I was actually continued them throughout because I was breastfeeding and now trying to conceive again. So I just never stopped taking my prenatal vitamins, but I'm on the prenatal vitamins. Increase your fluid intake. Try eating healthy if you can, like avoid processed foods. Try to stick with more organic options. For me, other things that I did was watched products that I was putting on my skin. A lot of people use those facial scrubs that have salicylic acid in them. You do not want to use that anymore. Other things that I did was I changed my toothpaste to the Tom's toothpaste. I changed my deodorant to a brand that is safe for breastfeeding, pregnancy, all of that, aluminum free. I'll put a picture here. And then I already have the apps downloaded now, but some really cool apps that you should download are What to Expect When You're Expecting, Sprout, Pregnancy Tracker, and then a couple other ones are Baby Bump and Pregnancy Plus. So not much of a bump to show you right now. I have not had any increase in weight gain, just bloating. So in the later weeks, I'll start to show you a bump date, but If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys for the next one.